Consciousness doesn't make any sense. What if you reading this sentence isn't the real you at all? Not your name, not your memories, not even the voice in your head narrating this video right now. Scientists can map every neuron in your brain, scan it, poke it, light it up on a screen like a Christmas tree. And they still can't tell you why any of it feels like something. And here's what's even stranger. Consciousness isn't one thing. It's not a light switch on or off. It's a dial with layers most of us never touch. And today we are turning it all the way up. 7 levels, each one stranger than the last, ending with a state where you doing the reading disappears completely. Stick around, because by the end, you are going to start questioning which version of you is actually you. Let's start with the one you visit every single night and remember nothing about. Level 1. The void of deep sleep. Every night you disappear, not metaphorically, actually. One moment you are lying in bed, aware of the ceiling, the blanket, your own thoughts. The next moment, gone. No dreams, no sense of time passing. No you there to even notice the absence of you. Try to picture what the emptiness is like. You can't. Trying to imagine deep sleep is like trying to imagine being blind by simply closing your eyes. The only proof that it happened is that you wake up. Neuroscience calls this slow wave sleep. Your brain waves drop below 4 cycles a second. This is when your body repairs muscle tissue, locks in memory, runs its nightly maintenance shift. But here's the part that keeps philosophers up at night. If there is truly no you present during the deep sleep, who wakes up in the morning? Is it the same person who fell asleep or a new one built fresh from the ashes? Ancient Indian philosophy has a word for this, sushupti, or return to formlessness. Buddhist thought compares it to a preview of enlightenment minus the awareness of it. Modern philosophers call it the 0 point of consciousness, the blank page before the story starts again. And yet, something curious remains. You never wake up focused about whether the time passed. Something somewhere is still keeping score. So maybe deep sleep isn't a total blackout. Maybe it's consciousness with volume turned all the way down, not off. Which brings us to the moment that volume knob doesn't just turn up, it starts painting pictures. Level 2. The world your mind builds alone. Somewhere between deep sleep and waking up, something incredible happens. Your eyes are closed, your body isn't moving, and yet you are standing on a mountain, or running from something that doesn't exist, or having a full conversation with someone who died years ago. Welcome to dreaming, the only fully immersive virtual reality that requires no equipment, just a sleeping brain. This happens during REM sleep. Brain activity spikes to nearly waking levels, but your body stays paralyzed, frozen in place, so you don't act out what you are seeing. And here's the mind-bending part. Every character in your dream, every stranger, every monster, every voice is generated by you. You are simultaneously the director, the actor, and the entire audience. And for the length of the dream, you forget that completely. Freud thought dreams were coded messages from your unconscious. The ancient Greeks thought that they were visits from the gods. Modern neuroscience leans towards something less mythical but almost as strange. Your brain sorting the day's emotional leftovers into symbolic stories. But notice something. While you are inside the dream, it feels completely real. The fear is real, the joy is real, your heart actually races. So sit with this for a second. If a fake world can feel this convincing while you are asleep, what makes you sure that the world you are in right now isn't doing the exact same thing? Let's actually test that. Level 3. The real world you are so true about. You open your eyes, light spills in, seeds against your skin, a car passing outside, coffee starting to brew. This feels unmistakably real, the baseline of existence. This is ordinary waking consciousness, the state you are in right now, watching this. But here's where it gets uncomfortable. Your brain isn't showing you reality, it's building a convincing simulation of it in real time. Your eyes don't send a video feed to your brain, they send scattered signals, and your brain reconstructs them into shapes, colors, depth. It fills in gaps. You never notice the editing because you never see the raw footage. And it gets weirder when you zoom out to the rest of the animal kingdom. Some snakes see heat, bats and dolphins see with sound. Certain birds and insects can detect the Earth's magnetic field like an internal compass. None of that shows up in your experience of the world at all. So which version is the true one? Cognitive scientist Donald Hoffman has a theory that should make you a little uneasy. He argues our senses didn't evolve to show us truth. They evolved to keep us alive long enough to reproduce. You don't see wavelengths of light, you see red. You don't see atoms vibrating in patterns. You see a solid table you rest your coffee on. Useful, efficient, but maybe not true. Here's the unsettling thought to carry with you. Waking life might not be the opposite of a dream. It might just be the most stable, most agreed upon dream you share with 7 billion other dreamers. And that's still just the ordinary version of being awake. There's another dimension almost nobody visits. Not sleeping, not dreaming, not the everyday waking mind either. Level 4, the silence behind your thoughts. Picture sitting completely still, eyes closed, not asleep, just watching your own thoughts, one after another, like clouds crossing the sky. Then for a moment, the clouds stop. No thought arrives to replace the last one. Just open, silent awareness. Aware of nothing in particular, yet somehow more awake than ever. Meditators across centuries have described this as a transcendental awareness. Not sleep, not a blank mind in the sense of being empty of you. Something else remains when even the thinking stops. Here's something researchers have actually measured. In experienced meditators, EEG scans show brain regions that normally fire independently, but they start to synchronize, like a room full of instruments suddenly finding the same rhythm. Philosophically, this state has a name in Sanskrit, Turiya, literally the fourth. Descartes said, "I think, therefore I am." But what happens to I am when the thinking finally stops? Turns out it doesn't disappear, it gets clearer, as if the thoughts were static, and underneath them was a signal that had been there for the whole time. Many describe this moment the same strange way, not like discovering something new, but like remembering something they had forgotten they already had. And once you have tasted the stillness, it doesn't always fade when you open your eyes. Level 5. Watching your own life from the balcony. Now imagine that quiet awareness doesn't vanish once your eyes open. You go back to your regular day, texting, working, arguing about dinner plans, but something underneath all of it stays untouched, still watching. This is sometimes called cosmic consciousness or the witness state. You are not detached from life, you are fully in it, laughing, stressed, tired, in love, but there's a quiet backdrop behind all of it that never gets shaken. Like watching a movie you are also acting in. Researchers describe this as sustained meta-awareness, the brain tracking both the outside world and its own internal state at the same time. Heart rate data from the people in this state often show something rare, high alertness paired with the deep physical calm, occurring together instead of cancelling out. But here's the part science can measure the least. People who describe living this way say something consistent. They stop confusing themselves with their emotions. Sadness still visits, anger still shows up, but it passes through. You are the sky, not the clouds, and once that distinction becomes permanent instead of occasional, something even stranger starts happening to how the world itself feels. Level 6. When the world starts to glow. At this level, the shift isn't just about you anymore, it's about everything you look at. It seems to hum with a quiet aliveness you never noticed before. A stranger's face isn't just a face, it seems to carry the same depth you once thought only you possessed. Some traditions call this God consciousness or divine perception. The line between watching the world and loving the world collapses. Neuroscience has caught glimpses of this in advanced meditators. Powerful bursts of synchronized gamma wave activity during deep compassion, alongside overlapping activity between emotional and sensory brain regions. But the readings only measure the mechanics. They can't measure what it's reported to feel like. And here's the part that should give you chills. Nearly every spiritual tradition has its own name for this, despite never talking to each other. Vedic text calls it Satchit Ananda, being conscious and bliss fused into one. Christian mythics called it union with the divine through love. At this level, compassion stops being something you have to try at all. It becomes the default lens, because if everything you see feels like an extension of the same aliveness, why would you treat any of it as separate from yourself? Which leads to the final level, the one where even the sense of self watching it all quietly disappears. Level 7. When the observer disappears. This is the strangest one to even describe, because language itself starts to break down here. In every level before this, there was still a you, watching, witnessing, feeling connected. At this final level, even the observer dissolves. There's no longer a universe being looked at. separate from you. Just one seamless, undivided awareness appearing as everything at once. Neuroscientists studying advanced practitioners describe something called non-dual awareness, a state where the brain's usual referencing activity, the part of you that constantly says me, behind the scenes, goes completely quiet. But here's the honest truth. This is where the instruments run out of road. What's being described isn't a feeling in the brain. It's described as the space in which the brain, the body, and the whole world are appearing. Buddhism calls it emptiness, not nothingness, but a fullness with no fixed boundaries. Mythics across traditions reach for the same paradox over and over. A drop of water realizing it was the ocean all along. Time in this state is described as collapsing into a single endless present. Past and future stop being places you travel between. They're just now, whole and complete. And the search, the seeking, the striving to understand what consciousness even is said to simply stop. Not because the question was answered, but because there's no longer anyone left standing apart from it. So here's where that leaves us. Maybe these 7 layers aren't a staircase you climb towards some finish line. Maybe they are closer to a circle, a return to something that was never actually missing, just buried under noise, thought, and habit. We start each life not knowing we are aware at all, and some traditions suggest we spend it slowly, remembering what awareness already was, underneath everything. Maybe your brain isn't creating consciousness the way a light bulb creates light. We can't prove that, nobody can yet, but it's worth sitting with. Because right now, reading this sentence, something in you is aware. So here's the question I will leave you with. Out of everything you call you, your body, your memories, your personality, your thoughts, which one is actually doing the watching? And if you can't point to it, what does that tell you about who is really been here the whole time? If this made you see your own mind a little differently, that's exactly the point. Tell me in the comments which level surprised you most, or which one you think you have actually touched before, even briefly. Because here's the thing, once you notice that dial exists, you start feeling yourself move along it without even trying. If you want to keep exploring how strange your own mind actually is, subscribe so you can catch the next one. And if it was worth 15 minutes of your very limited, very precious conscious experience, a like helps someone else find it too. Until next time, stay curious about the one thing you can never actually put down, your own awareness. Thank you.